Are you very hungry though?
Do you not want to eat your shoe?
Friends are looking tasty though.
Surely they are edible.
No, 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 no!
Monster, monster, cooking the monster.
Cooking the Monster is proudly presented by Herbert, Matly, and Kistrix.
Monster, monster, cooking the monster tonight.
Hello, fellow explorers of the wide and wonderful wilderness. We're here today to talk about another of our player character races. And today, we're exploring the most, reptilian of the player races. And that is the Dragonborn.
So, Dragonborn, created through ritual spellcasting by ancient dragons, a race of beings lizard-like in nature, strong clan focus amongst the family, and yeah, they have different flavors depending on which kind of dragon.
There are so many dragons out there. I mean, and there are so many chromatic dragons as well. And I guess much like how crocodile tastes more like fish and the land lizards taste a little bit more like chicken or dark meat, like a duck or something like that, I imagine that a lot of the chromatic dragons have a very metallic flavor to them.
It would be, a very high sort of taste of that kind. Obviously, you've got the reds, whites, greens, blues.
Yeah, I imagine those greens would be much more like a forest lizard, like a Komodo dragon or something like
Black
that.
is the swampy kind of thing.
I wonder if there would be like subtle differences with the metals as well.
There might be a high mineral content in those
yeah.
dragons, which could be good as a supplement for one reason or another.
Yeah, definitely like something with a cobalt or something like that. Maybe vitamin B12.
Generally, I think we're talking about it will have more of a bird-like thing, but unlike a chicken, it'll be more of a larger bird, so more of a goose or a duck. As you get larger, you're going to get a much darker meat, a much richer meat.
Well, much more blood flowing through the system overall,
absolutely.
and much more space between where the bone is and where the muscle is. I mean, I guess if the Dragonborn was, and like a human, you could have Dragonborns of various sizes, but if they built up more, or if they built up less muscle mass, you'd get that duck-like effect where you get that sort of build-up of skin and then the layer of fat with quite a lot of fat in there, and then some very tighter, more dense muscles. But if they're a larger Dragonborn with more muscle mass, then you get sort of much bigger steaks, I imagine.
And you're always going to get, I think, a much thicker bone.
Bone formation does increase with the density of bones does increase the more weight bearing is put through them as
And
well.
it affects the muscle and how the muscle is
Yeah.
built to be able to deal with that extra weight.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I guess we should look at some traditional flavors. I mean, we see in like Haiti and Jamaica and a lot of island nations where they do have large lizards. Even in Indonesia, they have the lizard meat which they flavor with strong spices, which is pretty standard, particularly if you're eating something along the lines of a Komodo dragon. There's lots of parasites and there's pretty nasty things around the Komodo dragon. But if you avoid the head completely and any of the internal organs, then again you can enjoy a lot of the flesh.
Glands.
The Komodo dragon, it doesn't rely on its ability to maim a creature or kill a creature. It just tries to get a single bite. It's a ambush predator, much like the bugbear in a lot of ways, where it'll just hide very still, very static, and just wait, and then just get a good bite in, and then just it has an excellent sense of smell, and it will track the
really
prey
just wait
until
for the
it
prey to
dies.
become lame. Yeah.
From the bacterial infections, which is what we need to avoid when
Definitely don't
we
want that.
are eating those lizards, particularly like I think it's a black dragon. It has the poison breath. Which I imagine staying away from the mouth and the poison gland inside of it, because Dragonborn, much like their bigger ancestrals, they still have the capacity to do a breath weapon, which means they are still storing those concentrated aspects. So like
lightning, acid, fire, the poisonous sort of chlorine gases, which could really change the flavor of it.
Absolutely change the flavor. I think it would affect the flavor.
So I guess just make sure not to puncture that gland if you're trying to cut it out.
Or you would probably try and really get that Dragonborn I don't know. What do you think? Do you
use
think it would be better if it... Because if it released the contents of those glands, then it would be in the environment and it would have traveled through their system, which means it could affect the flavor of the flesh in that way. Or if it was inside in the gland, then maybe there's that high risk of puncturing it when you're butchering it and releasing the gases. I don't know. What do you think?
It depends on the kind of flavor that you're going for, I think. Like, if you're going to, like, let the lightning spell, I'm kind of thinking, maybe is it going to have some sort of, like, sherbety effect in the mouth, maybe? I don't know.
Possibly. I mean, if you did it in the right way, you could use it to even cook the meat.
Yeah.
If you tied up the Dragonborn properly, wrapped it in a foil or possibly an oilskin if you don't have access to a foil or an oven, even a stove, like a wooden construct, and then lined up.
metal.
Yep, lined up a sort of a stick or something to be able to go inside and pierce the gland, release the lightning, then it would be all stuck inside. You might actually be able to cook the whole thing with its own juices.
Although
as it were.
most of these things will have resistance against the elements of
That
their
is true.
ancestral creature.
But I wonder if that resistance would still affect it if it was coming from the inside of the creature, if you were rupturing that gland.
If you are reaching down into the creature and rupturing the gland inside it, I imagine that would have quite visually spectacular effects.
I think it's still gonna. I think it'll still affect it probably in some way. The other thing, if you wanted to not have those flavors, I was thinking you could use absorb elements as well. So
That'd
you've
be
got,
good.
so the resistance from acid, cold, fire, lightning, thunder would be really handy, and that's first level. So if we've got any casters around, like, that's going to help us prepare the meat.
Yeah, of course. Like, just cast those resistances while you're butchering the Dragonborn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you cast that on the meat to make the meat itself resistant to the element, so that it wouldn't be affected by it?
Yeah, I'd be casting it on the meat. So when you were, like, slicing through it, you didn't have the effect.
Like, it
It
wasn't...
wouldn't be tainting the flavour of the meat.
The
and
acid
changing
wouldn't
it.
be...
Yeah, maybe.
Or the
Yeah,
fire
and it
wouldn't
is something
be.
to
Yeah, 'cause it could
consider
toughen it
because
quite
lizard
considerably.
meat typically is more delicate
Yeah.
than even a bird meat. The bird meat is still very sinewy and it has all those identifiable sort of muscle groups and factors, but with the lizard meat, it sort of falls apart a bit more, has a bit more graininess to it, a bit more like a fish meat, which is interesting. And it is a white meat, so preparation, you need to be a little bit careful. But that said, the delicate nature of it means it can be cooked in a high acid environment very efficiently. And if you want to flavor it, cooking it in lemon juice or alcohol or something
You
like
love that lemon juice.
I love the lemon juice. Remember how I said I like zesty things? I
do.
love zesty things. And this is like a fish salad or a lizard flesh salad. It'd be very nice because it just falls apart, it flakes it to pieces. You don't have to cut it up quite so much. You can just let it sort of break apart.
Sashimi, almost, do you think?
No, sort of something like a bit more cooked. So I guess if you wrapped it up and did it with some lemon and butter and baked it, and then you sort of put that over a salad, it would sort of break apart and it's very buttery and very moist, but you still get the zest from the lemon.
I was going more kind of inspired from some of, like, the Asian cuisines where, like, going down the duck kind of flavouring where they'll do something like a plum sauce, but branching out and maybe having a look at some of the other plants from the Rosaceae family. So that includes your roses, but then you've also got things like cherries, apricots, nectarines, plum again, peaches. You could actually be including some of those flavours with the meat.
That would be very amazing. It would be very sweet, but then that's not foreign to the table of a lot of Asian cooking. I mean, look, even some European cooking where you sort of, if you're doing like a whole pig in a plum sauce or even an apple sauce with your turkey.
Apples in the Rosaceae family, so perfect.
There you
Well
go.
done.
Yeah. But also, it could be, you could do roast whole hunks of it in the butcher shop. You could just do it like a roast duck. It's like,
Pop a peach in the mouth.
have it in as a Peking style.
Yeah.
Like wrapped in a little pancake. Would be very nice. Or even as in the French style, wrapped in a crepe in sliced pieces. It would be so good.
If you wanted to do that savoury, you could do galettes as well. So that's the savoury type of French pancake that's made with buckwheat flour.
Ah,
Yeah.
very nice.
I wouldn't know why that was a particular name. Learn something new every day.
We do, and that's really what excites us right here on Monster Chef. It's all about experiencing new things and finding new species to consume. Of course, we'd like to remind everyone that we're not encouraging you to go out and eat the sentient races, but they do really quantify most of the species that you're going to encounter in the D&D world. So go out there and be experimental and leave your comments below. Let us know what recipes and what flavors you'd like to see brought to the table when it comes to preparing your Dragonborn.
Monster, cooking the monster tonight.